Sweet.
All right, we're just about to go live. I think we're live. Are we live?
We're live.
I think so.
All right.
Nice.
Well, I just want to welcome everyone to this momentous call. Brothers, I'm so grateful that you're here with me, with all of us this morning, that you've made time. And yeah, this is going to be a powerful 90 minutes. We're gonna aim at 90 minutes. It may go a little longer. We're gonna be sensitive to the flow. Thank you so much for joining us. I just wanted to throw it to my co-host Alec Zek. And Alec, how are you this morning, afternoon?
Doing well, doing well. Feeling it a little bit, feeling some emotions, but that's all right, working through them. I'm honored to be on this call amongst some of the greatest minds in the consciousness and health freedom spaces. And it's really empowering to see this many male figures come together for humanity, to speak authentically and really embody and represent that sacred masculinity that the world needs so badly right now. You know, taking in pieces of the old masculinity that do resonate, that we've been that have been a part of humanity for the past 500 years or so, and bringing in those positive aspects of it, but also not emasculating ourselves and becoming what we are not, but standing as the protector, but standing authentically, and holding space for others to stand authentically as well, I think is the most important thing. So I'm just honored to be amongst all of you, and I thank all of you for joining, and all of you out here watching. I appreciate you joining us on Lionsgate.
Thank you for that, Alec. I just want to confirm, can somebody send me a note that we are live? Okay, it's working. Good, thank you. Okay, so many windows open here at the same time. So the intention of the call is to, like Alex said, just to touch on what he said. Like, what is, I have several questions, you know. One of the questions that we hear a lot, and sometimes from our partners and women, are, where are all the men? You know, how can we show up more? What is the new template for masculinity? You know, what does it look like? What does it feel like? How do we get there? And how do we respond to the challenges before us, individually and collectively? So we're going to go deep today. We're going to get real. And I just want to share a couple of things before we dive into breath work. We're going to have a short breath work with Andrew, and Brandon is going to lead us in prayer. Then we're going to open up the circle and we're just going to have discussion. And towards the end, we're going to do a powerful series of declarations that so much love and care has been put into by each man on this call. So this is going to be a transformational experience. Thank you again for being here. Brothers, I just want to share with you something that happened this morning at 5 a.m. I woke up at 4:45, which I do sometimes, and I was awake for this thing that happened. It was, my window was open, and I heard in the backyard, which there's a few trees. I live in kind of the suburbs. It's not like there's a forest or anything, but I heard the call of an owl for the first time ever in my backyard, and I heard it 12 times. So I was like, of course, thank you, right? So may we be guided by wisdom. May our benevolent source of our consciousness and infinite creator guide us in this discussion, in this experience, in the collaboration, and everything that comes from this. And may this blessing be upon everyone who's engaging today or into the future, as this will be available free on live, free on replay. So that's my prayer. I wanted to throw it to you, Brother Brandon. If you could say a word and guide us in as we kind of create this container and set our prayerful intention.
Awesome. So remind me, Josh, are we having Andrew do the breath work first and then lead into the prayer?
I'm sorry, totally my mistake. Andrew, please take it from here. How are you this afternoon, brother?
Amazing, guys. For all the men and women that are with us today, honor you, see you for being here with us. And yeah, this extraordinary time. And I'm so honored to be just doing this alongside some of the most beautiful men on the planet. So I'm very grateful to be guiding the breath for everyone today. And yeah, just dropping us into some beautiful rawness and vulnerability. And us really, I really feel some really just potent and just beautiful medicine is going to be shared today. So
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. So this is going to be about a 5 or 7 minute process. What should we expect?
yeah, you know, I just invite you when we're doing this to really just let go, surrender. Today is a really, really pivotal time for transformation in terms of new consciousness that is available to us right now for the first time, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of years, potentially even millions. So I just invite you to just be an open receiver to these codes. If you're feeling anger, overwhelm, tightness in the chest, dizziness, exhaustion, these are all totally normal things to be feeling today. So I invite you to cry, to let out a yell, or whatever emotions, or give full expression to anything that wants to move through you, even before we all do the lion's roar with everyone. So yeah, just feel into your body and just fully invite and welcome whatever wants to move through. That's it.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Okay, brothers. So full send. I'm going to invite everyone to get their back nice and erect. Okay. So as we do this breath work, we're going to be inhaling in through the nose, exhaling out the mouth. The exhale is going to look like this. Okay. So almost as if you were living in a cold place and you were blowing out air through your mouth, literally trying to fog up a window. Okay. So the first set of breath is going to be our hands coming to prayer pose. As the hands move out, we're going to flex everything, our shoulders, our chest. And then as we exhale, so we're channeling the warrior. Whether you're a woman on this call, man, we're channeling the warrior. We're inviting the warrior to step up full front and center for our women, our children, for our planet, and the universe at large, because the shift of consciousness is not just affecting this planet, our solar system. It's way bigger than any of us can even imagine in this now moment. So I just invite you to feel the emotions, feel into the energy, feel into the prana. I'm going to drop you into a quick little guided meditation, hand it off to Brandon for the prayer. Okay, brothers, full send on the new earth. Let's do this. So hands to prayer pose, putting the thumbs at the base of the chest. We're going to take our first deep inhale into the nose, bringing the breath into the belly, up into the chest, feeling all the emotions. Taking our first deep inhale with me, flexing everything, and exhaling. Exhale, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. I'm listening to my breath. Staying with the breath, feeling into the body. Last 5 breaths, deepest ones we've done yet. And last one. Loud, audible exhale out the mouth. Bringing our hands to prayer pose, lowering the eyes, tuning into the body. As we tune into the body, we're feeling into this ancient wisdom, this intelligence of the breath that we've known all along, but we've somehow forgotten. So just allowing yourself to be fully present, aware, and acknowledging whatever anger, overwhelm, anxiety, sadness, grief, whatever you may be going through in this now moment, we're just honoring that. Staying with whatever we're feeling in this now moment, fully present right here, nowhere else, just right here with all these beautiful souls on this call. Honor yourself for showing up here today. And what a time to be alive. Okay, brothers, the sisters, moving our right hand to our belly, left hand to our upper belly, just below the chest. We're going to do our second and last set of breath. Okay, so still I invite you to lower the eyes, feeling into the body. We're going to be inhaling in through the nose, exhaling out through the nose. Okay, so hands on our body, feel it fully tuned in to, again, what's present within us, and taking our first deep inhale in through the nose with me, exhaling and inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, and listening to my breath. Fully present with any emotions, any movement of energy in the body, fully aware of what's happening within us. And last 10 breaths. And last 3. On this last one, we're going to hold at the top. Deepest one we've done yet, and hold. And hold. We tuned into this universal intelligence, this universal consciousness. This breath, may it take us home in every now moment, as it is our most powerful tool. I fully believe this, that it is our most powerful tool to be moving through this dense consciousness as we embody this new way of being, new way of living, and new way of existing. And so now I just invite you to tune into the consciousness, to the hearts of every soul on this call right now. Feel this connectivity of everyone on this call. Feel the love that is moving through us. With our hearts combined, we're unstoppable. So still just staying with whatever is present within us, without whatever emotions, whatever sadness, anger, grief, guilt, honoring whatever we're experiencing, whatever we're triumphs, challenges, bliss we're going through right now. So brothers, sisters, I invite you to keep your eyes lowered. Brother Brandon is now going to walk us through a beautiful prayer.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I could sit in that all day. God, Goddess, all that is, Great Spirit, angels and ancestors, spirit guides, Divine Mother and Divine Father, Christ and Shekinah, we invite your essence and your love into this space. Allow us to penetrate the hearts of each and every listener through embodying our highest selves, to anchor in and catalyze the light of unconditional love, passion, power, and peace this world is calling forth. We choose to be an example of courage, honesty, integrity, and compassion. And we invite you all to join us. We choose to honor you, great Creator, as the source of our ability to have an experience such as this, as the source of what lies at the center of all aspects and all expressions of creation, that through you and through seeing each other the way that you see us, may we transform all darkness on the planet into light and have true unity. Not in a future lifetime, but in this lifetime. Call it a pipe dream, and I'll tell you that you're right. And we need more dreamers. We need more believers. As we call in this reality, we remind ourselves that only through healing may we be capable of ushering in a new dawn of masculinity, not just for men, but for all people. That we may be an example of the unstoppable, compassionately fierce, heart on fire passion that will pull us into a new world instead of repeating cycles of the past. May our message today be felt like an earthquake, breaking up the old and making way for the new. May the next 1,000 generations be uplifted and blessed from the words spoken today. And may the men on this call inspire a deeper sense of global brotherhood, sisterhood, and humanhood that we have never seen before. Om Shanti. Amen.
Wow. I could sit in that all day as well, Brandon. Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to, at this moment, throw it to my co-host, Alec. If you could, you spoke at the top of the call, Alec, about the real stuff that's coming up. The real, apparent blockages, the difficult energies, the strife in relationship, the doubts, the feeling, and are we good enough? Are we in a flow of abundance? And the invitation that poses. Would just like to ask you to, if you could maybe touch on that, and if you could maybe start us in the roundtable conversation here.
Yeah. I think a lot of men struggle with this. I'll say people in general struggle with this. Feelings of unworthiness and feeling like, your voice, your individual voice is just one individual, and that what you say, what you think doesn't really matter, and it's easier just to conform to what society has in mind for us. But the reason it's so important to express yourself authentically and be you, truly be you, not allowing others to dictate who you are, is because when you actually take those steps to be the authentic version of yourself and step out and embody that sacred masculine or that sacred feminine or the balance in between the two, you hold space and you create space for others to do the same. I was reflecting on that today, like, is me continuing this journey of, using these digital platforms to help people, is it worth it? And the main reason it is worth it is because of the amount of feedback that I've received, and I'm sure all of you have experienced this as well, of people who see that I'm not trying to, and none of us are trying to get people to blindly outsource to us, right? We're not trying to get people to blindly accept what we're saying. We're trying to inspire people to do the inner work for themselves and to understand their own inner faculties, rely on their own observations and their own experiences. And the more we continue to do that, the more people are able to express themselves authentically. And it's amazing, because those people who have reached out to me and said, hey, you empowering me to trust myself, you empowering me to turn inward is what has propelled me to speak. I just want to thank you for that. And I think everyone on this call could say the same, that we are doing the work to inspire others, to empower others to reconnect with themselves and become their own expert, so to speak. And that's the most important thing. And those feelings of unworthiness, they're just part of the ebb and flow of this experience, emotions to be experienced while we're here. But ultimately, us persisting and continuing to represent ourselves authentically in this experience is holding space and creating space for other people to do the same.
Thank you for that, Alex. That was beautiful. Just before we open it up the conversation, I just want to say a logistical note. During the stream, there's two ways to engage. We want you to engage. We want everyone to engage. This is part of the the suppression that the masculine has been under, is like a program. Don't engage, right? So engage. There's two ways you can engage on the discussion. One is on the page itself. Scroll down below. Let us know what's coming up for you, where you're at. Post a comment on the page itself. If you're watching this on YouTube or on replay, go to reunion.world. Reunion.world. You can join the discussion there. Secondly, is to join the live chat on YouTube. So there's a link just below the embedded YouTube where you can pop it out. Join YouTube. Let's get the discussion going there. Let's amp this up, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I wanted to just to open it up now. I'll just see if I can get everyone seen on here. Okay, so what's coming up for you, gentlemen? What have you been challenged by? Obviously, everyone on this call is awake. We're aware of the situation in our world, on the planet right now. We don't, and I think our audience is, so we don't need to preach to the choir, so to speak. So we just want to be real. And Alec, thank you so much for being real and setting the tone on that with us. So just want to open it up. Who wants to go first? What's up for you, and what's the medicine, maybe the challenge or invitation or medicine that's most evident in your experience? And please unmute yourself, gentlemen. You can right click there and go unmute, and let's go for it.
Can I start with something?
Please.
So first of all, I just want to say thank you to both Alec and Josh for making this a possibility and bringing us all together. Alec, in regards to what you just said, you brought something up, sort of like activated something within me just by saying it, because I'm sort of dealing with, I'm sure a lot of us are, in the way things are happening in the world right now. But one of the biggest things for me is, well, how do I show up next? You know, what happens next with all the chaos and the craziness? There's some sort of, and this really connects back to the whole divine masculine side, because me, and I'm sure many of us, have been sort of programmed in a way to think of, well, what does a man do? And all of that's changing now. So what I find myself sort of experiencing right now is, every time I ask myself, okay, how do I want to respond to this situation publicly? How do I want to show up next in regards to this topic? I constantly try and be conscious of both sides, both the old paradigm of what the instinctual programmed man would do, and then the new sort of programming or the reprogramming, getting back to that true self of balance and saying, okay, well, wait a second, that might be the reactive part of me, how I would just react because that's what I was programmed to do next. But how do I really want to respond? Am I responding out of a place of trauma, out of pretending to be something that I was taught I had to be? Or am I really coming from a place of my heart? And if I'm coming from a place of my heart, does that make me less masculine? And what I've been coming to in my own experience of just questioning that is, the answer to me is the absolute opposite. Meaning, the divine masculine, the divine feminine really come from that same core of balance. And it's no coincidence that the middle chakra between the top three and the bottom three is the heart. So for me, what I've been learning, what I'm learning now, and what Alec brought up by just sharing what he shared in his sort of introductory remarks, is the divine masculine is our true nature, but it's also the divine feminine. They're one and the same. And for me personally, just with what I'm going through and what many of us are going through, of what's going to happen next, how much crazier is it going to get, and what do we do about it? Is there, what's the right way to show up? And I don't know the answer to that 100%. I have an idea of the resonance of nonviolence, absolute peace. We can do this through our words and through our actions without having to get to a terrible place or a dark place. And we can learn from that through choosing to learn from it. But all in all, what I'm truly understanding more and more every day, this is all challenging me to bring me to the same place of come back to your heart, feel what you feel, sit with it. And whenever anything comes up, whether it's something between you and a friend, or whether it's something between you and your state or you and your country, and you don't know what to do next, what I've just learned to do and what I'm learning to do is don't react, respond. And reacting is more impulsive. Responding is more, what am I feeling? Let's sit on it. Let's act from the heart and take it next. So those would be my remarks, just to piggyback off of Alec, because it's something that I'm dealing with, and I'm sure many of us are, of just what do we do next and how do we respond?
Beautiful. Thank you, brother. Who's next?
Can everyone hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So the shares of Jason, the shares of Alec were just really amazing. And something that came up as they were speaking just initially brought up this question, like, what are you taking a stand for? And this is something that I've been asking myself almost every day for the last year or more. What are you taking a stand for? And basically bringing up the energy of taking a stand for something. And that reflection brought up for me a few things, a transition actually, taking a stand for values that are shifting from survival to actually more empowerment. What do I mean by values that are shifting from survival? I mean by that things like self-righteousness, defensiveness, control, separation, divide. Is the way I'm showing up right now taking a stand for values anchored in survival? Or is the way I'm showing up right now taking a stand for values anchored in empowerment, sovereignty, connection, acceptance, deep trust in my divine nature while not rejecting my human nature? And this is something that has been extremely important for me lately. Can I be in a space where I welcome everything that has to do with my humanness, like the difficult emotions that I happen to feel at times, like anger, and very often, especially the last 12 months or a year and a half, rage at times, and be present with it and holding it, not shutting down my heart, and reclaiming responsibility. There is something that Jason shared, which is, how do I respond? That responsibility, that ability to respond from a place that is actually in alignment with this empowered, or what I tend to see as empowered values, empowered perspectives. So this is something that has been coming up very powerfully as I ask myself, what is the energy of taking a stand for me in this moment? What do I take a stand for? When I ask myself, how do I show up as a father, as a leader, as a mentor to many? What is the energy that I took that I chose to take a stand for, and this came this came up over and over and over again, and I just wanted to bring it up here. So thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm really grateful for this.
Thank you so much for your work, Xavier, and helping people resolve the trauma so that we can respond authentically. I think as a man, we're kind of hardwired to be problem solvers, right? And to see the problem as being out there, and so we're blinded to the inside out process, that wholeness, that consciousness. I want to, Garrett, can I put you on the spot? I want to ask your perspective. What is the new template for healthy, empowered masculine energy from your perspective?
Following up on what Xavier was saying, I would say that we take a stand for what's appropriate in the moment when we take a stand as consciousness. So I would say, rather than try to take a stand or concern yourself with what you're standing for, turn it inward, ask yourself, who am I? Answer that question, which I'm happy to discuss in a second, and then stand as that. If you stand as the true self, not a man, not a woman, as consciousness itself, what you stand for flows effortlessly. It won't even be a concern. Stand as the true self, the infinite and the eternal, and life will play out without any deliberation at all. So, to your question, Josh, we have just totally forgotten who we are. Someone mentioned conditioning before. We are conditioned, programmed, indoctrinated, whatever, to be limited and lacking specks in the universe, when nothing could be further from the truth. If indeed we are limited and lacking specks among a gazillion other specks, imagine the burden on us specks if that was true.
Yeah.
Imagine how absurd that is. And imagine the insecurity, the anxiety, the coping, the blaming, the controlling that then ensues from there. So we have totally missed the boat. We are not specks within the universe. No one has actually had the experience of being a speck within the universe. Everyone has had the experience of being the universe, another word for consciousness in this case, and knowing that all experiences, including specks, arise within them. And we have overlooked that fundamental understanding. We were at a fork in the road way back when. I am infinite and eternal consciousness. I am a limited and lacking speck. We went left, we should have gone right. And calls like this are the turnaround back inward, back home.
Yeah. Unity, the wholeness, right? Wholeness within. How can we get there if we feel stressed out, anxious, worried for ourselves, for mankind, and we're feeling that not enough story? Does someone else want to, how, like, specifically, I want to ask someone.
I'm inspired.
Yep.
Garrett, I love everything that comes out of your mouth. You speak to my soul. What I heard from you is, to the degree that we express balanced masculinity, balanced femininity, will mirror the degree in which we know ourselves. And, the forgetting, from my perspective, was also a choice. But we forgot, we chose the forgetting. And there's so much judgment placed on moments of forgetting, where remembering would be impossible to experience without the forgetting. The forgetting creates a context, a contextual field in which remembering is a possibility. And those moments, to me, of remembering, it's what revelation is. It's a moment of awe. It's a moment where the me that I thought I was crumbles, and something that I've always been, that is far more miraculous, arises. And it's so deeply personal. It's hard to tell someone what that will be like. So the work that I do in the world, and I think a lot of men on this call do in the world, is of self-inquiry. It's to question the mind. There are at least 7 billion Brandons on the planet, because you're watching a version of Brandon, and you are, and you are, and you are. And, it's like, I'm thinking of a version of Brandon in the past and the future, and there's all these different versions of Brandon. Well, who am I? Right back to this question, Garrett. And to me, it's like, when you start contemplating these questions, you might be in this level of the cake, and all of a sudden you're just put on the very top, like right on the frosting, and you're like, oh, I'm outside of it. Let me, I'm in a whole new realm of thinking, and or not thinking. So to answer the question, I have come to see that anytime that I'm upset, anytime that I'm frustrated, and I came into this call feeling heavy, and through the reminders that you all have given me permission to remind myself, it's just helped tremendously. I'm here. I'm in the moment, and so the inquiry says, anything that causes me stress can't be fundamentally true. Negative, anxiety, fear-based stress, it cannot be fundamentally true. And from my experience, it's not that you need to go any deeper than finding the story, finding the belief. I love how Byron Katie says, if you want stress, get a future. It's like you were saying, Jason, what am I afraid will happen in the future? There's this phrase that says, what I resist persists, but what I look at disappears. So it's like, I don't need to get rid of the darkness. I just need to turn on the light. And I do that by acknowledging the fear. And if I don't have a story that says feeling feelings is bad, then you don't need to learn how to feel your feelings. Feelings are felt unless there's resistance to them. So from my experience, it's like, what is in the way of, being myself, which by definition, I can't exist in past or future. I have to be right here, right now. And what that always looks like is inspiration, passion, creativity. It's the child who doesn't know themselves that's just in awe all of the time. So what's in the way of that is my conditioning. And I don't need to do 37 rituals and write it on a piece of paper and burn it and snort the ashes. I mean, I can do that. And trust me, I love doing rituals. But if I can just take a moment to be still and look at it and start to question, is this true? Or is this just a belief? And if I can see for myself that it's nonsense, from my experience, that's the first and last step. So I think, just to wrap this all up, it's like the meek will inherit the earth, right? Well, the meek are the ones that don't know anything. But the ones that don't know anything are open-minded. And an open mind is an open heart. So for me, my answer to everything when it comes to how we're going to create peace and unity and connection is self-inquiry as a means to self-knowledge, and the rest will take care of itself.
Oh, thank you for that. You and I and Jason were on with Beth Martin's on Thursday on a live stream, Brandon, on the King Heroes Journey podcast, and it was just so lit. You know, it was like just, and this one is wow. But I wanted to touch on, you mentioned feelings, like feeling your feelings, you know, and I had a chance to speak at the Music and Sky Gathering last about a month ago, and I talked about this pathway. You know, this pathway in which unity consciousness is present, and so is responding, and so is taking full responsibility. And it's actually in the Gospel of Thomas that Jesus, that Yeshua said, and it's a pathway that goes like this. It goes, those who seek should not stop seeking until they find. When they find, they will be disturbed. When they are disturbed, they will marvel, and they will reign over all. And in some manuscripts it says, and then they will rest. So I want to talk about this disturbed piece, right? This and then feeling our feelings fully. Who wants to go on that, and the power of really, like, you know, maybe it's giving ourselves permission. Like for me, for example, it's giving myself permission to feel fully the emotions and the stuff that is lower vibration, or that is coming up. It's fear, it's sadness, it's anger. Sometimes I can't get to sadness, but I can get to anger, you know, and just feeling that, you know. Maybe it's a heavy bag in your, you know, in your garage, like it is for me lately, and myself permission to scream into a pillow from a soulful place without judging myself. But who wants to riff off that?
Yeah, I would love to speak on that.
Yeah. Right on.
So that's something that I work with on a regular basis, right? Being okay. The ego wants to label these emotions of anger, of sadness, of overwhelm that we're feeling right now as something that is bad, or something that we shouldn't be feeling. But the truth is if we didn't have this polarity of emotions, of bliss, of gratitude, of unconditional love, of hatred, of anger, then how would we make it back home to our heart? We need both. So it's coming, we need to come back into the body, because we're so out of the body, right? This entire matrix system that's been created to get us so out of the body and into the physical, when the real gold, right, is in the non-physical, which makes up 99.9999999% of the universe and everything in existence. So I think, right, getting into the body, getting connected with our breath, just being this conduit of source energy to allow these emotions to literally just pass through, you know, it's like, that's when embodying surrender and letting go is so critical for right now. Are you going to stand in the middle of the river and try to stop it from flowing? Or are you just going to just let go, surrender, become resilient, and flow, right? That's getting in your feminine energy, becoming receptive, open, and flow. So that's why being embodied in our masculine, there's a huge element to being embodied in our feminine, right? To being okay with seeing other men see us break down and sob. I want to share something with you guys, and then give a really raw, vulnerable share of something I've been experiencing this last 18 months. So when I was in India, December, January, February, and March, I spent 3 months in isolation studying yogic philosophy and breath with my guru. And I was living on a tea plantation in the middle. There wasn't a place to get a cup of tea, nothing, like just forest. That was it. And me and my cottage and Guruji, who would come to my cottage, and we would study breath and talk about the Kabbalah and all this amazing stuff. So one thing that Guruji's mother shared with me is that the divine masculine and the divine feminine, what we think that looks like right now in this now moment, you can't actually imagine what that looks like in 35 years from now. It looks entirely different than what we think is the divine masculine and feminine. And that's something that she shared with me as one of the most special humans in a body during this time right now. 100 years old, and her hair started turning black 2.5 years ago. And she said, Andrew, my hair is turning black, and that's how I know I'm going to survive the shift. And I was just like, okay. Really, really profound stuff. But she was just kind of sharing with me that even she doesn't know. I don't know. No one, we don't really know. We're just things of what that looks like. It's continuing to be more clear as we evolve into something that we can't imagine as these light codes continue to come in from the central sun. And, one thing I think for myself that I'll speak on, for maybe this will be some beautiful medicine for someone. I grew up in a household where my dad was just screaming. That's the only way he knew how to communicate. He was such a beautiful man and had such a beautiful heart, but he didn't know how to communicate without screaming and yelling. So I was just okay, when is this just going to erupt? I mean, as soon as I walk through the door, when I'm leaving to baseball practice, I mean, it was just nonstop. So my nervous system was literally just on panic mode all the time. Which, that chaos between my mom and dad then led my mom to attempt to take her own life 2 different times when I was in middle school, when I was, 11 and 12. So when my mom, checked into the psych ward for literally about a year, there was a deep anger that I just wanted her to be able to get her shit together to be there for us. And then I wanted my dad to not be so angry all the time, to have more compassion for her. So there was so much for me right now, there's so much deep child wounds coming up. And it's and it showed, like the other day, my partner and I were at an event and we were, got into a disagreement. So I just left. I just left and I was like, okay, I just need to do my own thing. So why did I do that? Why did that take place? That was not me. That was the little boy, Andrew, that was just yelled at all the time and didn't feel worthy of love. And, didn't feel like, always hated relationships and shamed and made fun of people that were getting married and having children, right? Because that was my own projections of my own anger, fear, and so much anxiety, overwhelm that was being purged in that now moment. So now the story is that doesn't have to be me, right? That doesn't have to be me. I can let those things go, feel into them. And, I love what Brandon says. Is this true? Is this true? And the truth is no. The truth is no, right? Me acting as that little boy, all these things are just coming full front to our face to be able to integrate as we embody this total new way of being. So the last thing that I'm going to say is that it's just so important to get back into the body, allow yourself to feel these emotions of anger, of sadness, and not judge yourself for them, but understand that you're not alone, and that the amount that our DNA, our body is crystallizing and changing, it is like nothing you can even begin to fathom with the human mind. So just be kind and gentle to yourself, as you're not alone, and we're all experiencing this profound shift of consciousness together, truly. So, and that's it, I think. And all the brothers that are sharing, just absolute fire, phenomenal.
Wow. Thank you for that transmission, brother. Such a powerful reminder. Alec, I would like to jump to you if I could, or if we could. I feel like I've directed a lot of the conversation here, and I would like to ask your thoughts, but specifically with regard to what Andrew was saying about, because I could feel you. on that. You know, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I could feel me too on that one. You know, I mean, that resonated with me so deeply because that was very, very similar to my childhood. So a lot of tears there. You know, I had this thought that jumped in as Andrew was speaking, that like when it comes to like trauma is relative. All of us have trauma that we've experienced, and all that is just more conditioning added on to the top of what we truly are, and what we truly are is consciousness, universe, love, whatever you want to call it. And this time right now, in order to effectively navigate and be that voice to help pull others out of their trauma, it requires us to look at all the trauma that we've experienced, to look it in the face, as Andrew is saying, and I like to say, peeling back layers of that onion and looking at each of those things that you've experienced and really determining whether that is for you, that is something that resonates with the deepest essence of who you are, which is eternal love, consciousness, the universe, really, or if that was something that was impressed upon you in this lifetime. And if it is something that was impressed upon you in this lifetime, letting it go. And I think all of us to some degree are still working through that. I know I am working through those feelings so often lately, being triggered by my childhood trauma quite a bit, and having to look at each emotion that I'm experiencing and really doing that, determining if it is for me, if it is something that resonates with the deepest essence of who I am, or if it is something that has been impressed upon me in this lifetime. And if it's something that's been impressed upon me, letting it go, letting myself know that is just something to be experienced here in the moment. And it's like the highest level. This game that we play with ourselves is the whole purpose of it, though, and that's the weird crux of the issue, is that like we're supposed to experience all those negative emotions, if you will. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, Andrew. That was really, really, really powerful.
Brothers, what else are we? What else is coming up? Who's feeling inspired right now?
Josh, I'd like to share.
Please.
And thank you for this opportunity, for this space, gathering us all together. And Andrew, your points and honest sharing touched me deeply into what we're here to share with each other. And we're gathering on a special day, this Lionsgate, this moment that has tremendous significance. And this astrological alignment, this moment, it's about self-expression. It's really a moment in which the lion, the energy that's around us is bringing us up to roar, to express, to say. And this moment in time is following a tremendous season of feelings, of emotions. We've all been in the soup, personal circumstances, collective. There is so much that's coming up. And Alec, as you're saying, there's this layer cake that's suppressing perhaps, or limiting, or conditioning, or filtering out our expression. This lion gate, this alignment is an opportunity to share that, to express, to see, to feel beyond what we're normally used to, this days, this moment. And we're always in different moments of, we fill up of emotions and then we empty out, and we can allow others to come and share with us. And it's important that as we explore this masculine essence, this human essence, that we both hold a container for those around us and allow ourselves to just open up and shatter if it's necessary, to gain our integrity, to gain our truth, to be brought together with greater strength and solidarity. And it's also at the same time, today as the moon, we're filled with potential. We're filled with potential of a new way of expressing, a new way of being. So much of what is happening around the world, regardless of our position, it's dividing us. It's bringing us apart. And this division sometimes are helpful, assist things, because when something doesn't fit, we need to put it apart so that we can bring it back together. But we have to remember that it is that process of bringing it back together. It's bringing back that unity. So as I see it also, this call, this is but a drop of the ocean that we want to step into, this brotherhood of openness, of truth, in which this community of men also wants to invite other people to share, to be together, to express and share whatever it is the collective is, and individually we're processing, and it's important that we allow those shouts, and to maybe not only shout onto a pillow, but to be able to feel and hear the totality of our roar, and have the sensibility to listen to the whispers of our soul. What's happening? What's being said? What's moving through us? And so much of the invitation is to stay with whatever it is that is happening. A lot of uncomfortable conversations have been had and will be had, uncomfortable moments and presence. And can we remain open into our heart, and as the guiding force and as the guiding principle, as we navigate this world together. So I wanna thank you, Josh, Alec, and all the men here in this call for opening this as we invite each other into this walk of togetherness, into this walk of masculine, feminine, of humanhood. So thank you for that.
Thank you, brother. I wanted to touch on that this call, as you probably feel if you're watching this, is not about spiritual bypass. This is about going deep so that we can respond in a way that's aligned with life, with the pattern that wants to happen to bring us through this moment of compression. Aaron, I want to forgive me, Alec. I'm kind of feeling like just the flow of conversation. To continue, did you want to ask any questions or stimulate anything right now in the conversation?
I didn't have anything right now. If you wanted to continue with asking Aaron to speak, though, I love hearing him speak. So.
Okay, jump in at any point, because I can get long-winded. Aaron, I loved your podcast interview with Alec. You were on his podcast, The Way Forward, for the second time recently, and you're talking about going deep into oneness and responding and calling out the lies and standing for truth, right? What's coming up for you right now?
I think the biggest catalyst for me in this whole season has been, how do I respond to, as we've been saying, the injustices and the brokenness of the world in a way that doesn't add more brokenness or insanity or injustice to it. And, we've seen a lot of attempts of people to do that. A certain segment of the population is seemingly, just foaming at the mouth with rage and anger at everyone in sight, calling everyone a this and a that, and labeling people. And each one of those attempts is, at the core, it's an attempt to bring justice and righteousness. But because it's coming from a place of brokenness and disconnection, it only adds more division and strife. And so as I find myself getting so triggered by, as we see our rights being trampled on and liberties being taken away and free will being infringed on, that's triggering to all of us. And it's causing me to look really deep inside of myself to say, how do I see these things the way that God sees them, and respond without being moved from my peace? If sacred masculinity is anything, it's peace and wisdom. And from wisdom flows just all of the right actions, how to be in integrity, how to be courageous. And, I grew up in church as a pastor's kid, and I always just had this incredible passion for Jesus. And from the time I can remember, I just wanted to be like Christ in every way. And, Christ was very vigilant in calling out the oppression and the injustice of his day, and made some pretty remarkable indictments to the Pharisees and religious leaders, calling them hypocrites publicly and brood of vipers. And, some of the analogies he would give, you are like whitewashed tombs. On the outside, you're clothed in dressed up all nice, but on the inside, you're full of dead man's bones. Another one he said was, you're like unmarked graves. In the Jewish tradition, it would be something that would make you unclean to stand over a grave, and it would defile you. You'd have to wash yourself clean. Jesus said, you Pharisees are like unmarked graves. People stand over you and are unaware. Meaning, we see this parallel in our world today. There is so much unconscious slavery in the world, so much oppression and suffering caused by those in positions of power who would use that power to subjugate and marginalize others for personal gain. And so it's like, how do I respond to that without anger and resentment? Because I believe what Christ was really doing was not that he was hating those Pharisees in his heart, but he was really trying to make a public demonstration, right? To show other people that were listening, wake up, see the ways you are being blinded from truth by these people. They're leading you astray. They don't have your best interest in mind. Trust your heart, trust God, trust your inner guidance. The kingdom is within you. And, if Jesus came around a Pharisee personally, like Nicodemus, he would usher them right into the kingdom, right? He had no hatred in his heart, I believe. And so I want to be like Christ in that regard. And, in beginning to speak out about some of these injustices on my social media and whatnot, and even some content I make, receive a lot of angry messages from people who follow my content and say, I can't believe you're speaking out. I thought you were better than this. You should just be quiet, just meditate, teach non-duality. Don't get involved, right? Because you're just strengthening the evil in the world if you get involved with it. And I think I want to speak to that idea here on this call, that it's absolutely valid, to sit in a cave and meditate and let the world, burn to ashes if that's what it wants to do. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's no more spiritual or enlightened than to meet the injustices of oppression like Christ did, and Gandhi did, and Martin Luther King did. And my question to those people, those of us on the side of light who are kind of sitting on the sidelines in fear right now, feeling oppressed, maybe that's a form of spiritual bypassing, to say, oh, let's just hope God figures it all out. Let's just hope that some angels come down and save us, right? It's like, we are those angels, right? We are God incarnate. We are here to do that. We are here to be lights in the world. What good is all of our spiritual practicing if we can't be a light in the world, right? If we can't speak truth to injustice. And so again, I want to do that in a way that I never move from my peace while I do that, so that what I say has authority and power. And this is what sacred masculinity is. There's a Zen parable I love that many of you have probably heard, that I think really demonstrates the right energy for us to be in. And it's a story of a military leader in China who was going through all the towns and slaying all of the monks in their temples and killing everyone in sight. And he had this huge reputation. Everyone was terrified of him. And he came to this one town, and all the monks flee when they hear he's coming. And there's one monk who sits and meditates, waiting for him to arrive. And so the dictator gets off his horse and walks up and draws out his sword and points it at his face and says, "Don't you know who I am? I can slice you into 1,000 pieces without even batting an eye." And the monk opens his eyes, looks at the military leader and says, "Don't you know who I am? I can be cut into 1,000 pieces without batting an eye." And I love that parable, because that's the presence I want to come from when I am seeking to correct the imbalances in the world. Let it be not from a place where I'm saying reality is wrong and I'm here to correct reality, because that's a place that's just going to cause more division, right? Let me be a lover of reality. Let me see that there's nothing actually wrong happening. And if that's true, the way I can turn my perception of these world events to a place that doesn't bring anger and reactivity is gratitude. Like, we could not come together like this right now without the forces of darkness, so to speak, trying to come against us. Like, look at the unity it creates. Look at the catalysts that it provides us. Like, I can't even put into words, as I'm sure many of you would also attest to, the amount of spiritual growth that has happened to me in the last year and a half as a result of these catalysts. It's truly remarkable. And so they're playing their role by causing separation, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. But it's also our role to be warriors of light and bringers of light. And doing that in a way that comes from a place of love. And I think that our job, each and every one of us listening right now on this call, is to not just speak about this, but demonstrate it, right? The world desperately needs to see unity consciousness demonstrated. What does it look like to speak truth to power from a place of unity and love? What does peaceful non-compliance look like? Because as of right now, all anybody knows is the vitriol and the hate and the anger and the foaming at the mouth, accusing one another. And that obviously can't create unity. So all that to say, that's been my big challenge in this season, is looking deep inside of myself and finding my peace first, and then responding from that place so that what I say and what I do in the world has true power and connection to it.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I love the bridging, the world bridging. I want to ask Matthew. Well, I just want to first of all honor your work, Matthew. You're doing so many things, including the law for the Choose Freedom Law Summit, and you're interviewing men and women about. You and Beth Martins are interviewing men and women about actual solutions, lawful strategies, claims, notices, navigating the sovereignty. How do we do it, in a simple, empowered way? So you're sharing a lot of truth, and I want to just ask you if you could, what's coming up for you, if you could reflect on, that process of because I know that you're compelled, just like we all are, to speak truth into this situation, right? But then to again, I don't want to go completely back to where we were at the start of the call, but just from your perspective, how do you navigate that when you get triggered, or that unity duality, Vesica Pisces, sort of the two realities overlapping, and what's coming up for you right now?
Well, first of all, this has been an incredible call so far, and I've been taking notes. So just a friendly reminder, these are heavy times in many ways, but the human spirit is stronger. No matter what plan that these people have, and many of us know them in detail, the human spirit is stronger. God is stronger. Life always wins. To pick a battle against life is absurd, but these people are absurd. So I've heard, so many great messages on this call. And one that comes up for me often is that, we're children in the eyes of God. We want to do the right thing. We want to know what the right thing is, but, we only know so little. One of the examples I give is, you look at a kid and they're 3 years old. Well, they're good enough when they can walk and run, or are they good enough when they can read and write? Or are they good enough in high school? Or are they good enough when they graduate university? But somewhere along the line, you become a man. And is that 25? Is that 30? Is that when you start a business? The older you get, the more you realize what you know is so limited. And we're talking about a template. What's the template for masculinity? Well, masculinity is just a word, and it's just an energy. In martial arts, there's yin and yang. There's the inner work, in Qigong, they'll do meditation and reflection and understanding the energy and intent. But then there's the hard Qigong, where you actually have to go do something. You have to go punch a tree, or you have to bring it into the physical form. And that's through thought, and that's through care, and that's through intent. So as we move through these times, it's incredibly challenging. And so if we want a template, the template is to do the right thing each and every day, in each and every decision. Even a child knows what the right thing is, but sometimes the right thing is very hard to do. So in times when we see injustice and we see all the pain in the world, do we go by? Do we stay silent? And I wonder this as a martial artist. It's like you have a power to, be able to defend, or, go into combat, but you never want to do that if you actually know what you're doing. So when do you actually take an action? And so we always know we're doing the right thing when we just are present in the moment, and we take that time to know who we are. That's one of the big themes coming up here is not knowing who we are, not knowing that, we're connected to creation. And for me, another big theme is this fear. Fear will make us do things we wouldn't normally do. It will cause distortion in the mind, and these people will poison our minds. They'll poison our foods in hopes that we ourselves poison our spirits, because that's a choice that only we can make, and we do that through our choices. Each and every moment and each and every day. What's right and what's wrong, and so from now, I had different beliefs from a year ago to 2 years ago to when I was a teenager. But as I've moved through the path of life, I've always known the difference between right and wrong, and to stand up for what was right, to stand up for what was true and what was good, and what was honorable. And I've studied with a lot of great teachers, and one of my favorite teachings was from some of my Native American teachers, and they would say, the new spirituality is action. Is to take this inner work and to bring it to the world. It's to do what you can in your community, in your household, with your relationships, with your family. So I think it's simple, but it can be really challenging, because it can come with consequences. By speaking out and doing the Law Summit and things like that, it's been good, because I'm always asking, please guide me, because I only know a little bit. My conscious peanut brain only knows a little bit. I'm going to have to make a sandwich and then, feed my daughter and, then try to change the world. But the only thing I can do is, try to do the right thing in the moment. And I did a recent podcast with Paul Enslaved, who's doing some great stuff. And he said, I love this quote. He said, it's more important who you are when you die than how you die. And so I feel like, with what's going on in the world, it's important just to remember that we are created by a creator, that we are protected, and that there's nothing to fear, because we know that, life happens and it will end. But if we can move fearlessly and do the right thing, I think we'll be on as good a track as we can be in massive uncertainty. So that's kind of what's coming up for me now, and could go all day because I've been taking notes, but this has been wonderful. So I'll just reiterate the top one. These are heavy times, but the human spirit is stronger.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Yeah, go ahead, Al.
I'd like to hear from and maybe start with Stanton on this, and any other fathers that want to speak after. How to effectively raise our kids with this chaotic and tense time that we're experiencing right now, and how to help them evolve to be the leaders of consciousness, of humanity, with everything we're experiencing. Stanton, if you wouldn't mind starting us off with that.
My mantra from the very beginning of all this has been, what world, I could cry right now, what world will my daughter inherit from me? And then recognizing that this mission, I think Andrew said something earlier before we started recording, was like millions of years in the past. And then I believe it was Brandon that said 1,000 generations in the future. And recognizing that this moment in time is just a blip on the radar, and we may be a little bit of a speck, right? But when Aaron, you said, like, you gave the examples of Jesus, you gave the examples of Gandhi and Martin Luther King, that has been in my soul, like what has been coming up for me. And it's because, and I know there's probably an infinite number of answers to this, but I believe Jesus did that because he loved them. And I believe Martin Luther King did that because he loved them. And he talks about that. He talks about the agape love when you read through the biographies. It's not just, it's the wholeness of love, right? We've talked about trauma, and trauma comes from one angle, it pushes us way out the other way, and then it ebbs and flows to these polarities, when in reality, I see that speaking out during these times is, one, insurance for the world that my kid will inherit from me, but it's with a wholeness of love that is not just the rainbows and puppy dogs and what is acceptable by society today. It's accountability, it's integrity. It's actually calling to account the levels of lack of transparency, or the levels of, those disconnects that at the end of the day are absolutely unacceptable for the world that my kid will inherit from me. I was looking at, because you get these updates on your phone, about a year ago, I look at these pictures of my kid. You can see her behind us, and that's Christmas time, it's several months ago. And I think about, she was barely doing tummy time, and she was playing with this little abacus, and it's not because she's Asian, right? but she was barely doing tummy time. She was playing with this abacus, and she was playing with it last week in the office, and how much she has absolutely changed. And so I drew a strong line right at the beginning, because I'll be honest with you, I'm a prenatal and pediatric chiropractor, and I was actually more afraid of chiropractors turning me in for not requiring all the mandates, for not playing by all the rules. But it was so simple for me. It was a super simple concept. In my second home, in my kid's second home, that she's just sprouting as a brand new, like, well, now she's a wild toddler. Could I ever have her steeped in the level of fear and anxiety that we see just tsunamiing the planet today? I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it here at my house. I couldn't do it at my practice. And that was for me. And people come in and they're like, whoa, you don't require this. You don't require that. I'm like, no, I don't. And it was such a simple thing where I was like, I refute, I draw a hard line, hard pass. There's no way that second home for my kid would be a place where she would have to fear. Like, this is my thing right now. Because we see a lot of kids with neurodevelopmental challenges. And when I graduated chiropractic school 11 years ago, the research was clear. This is an 11-year-old study that 54% of our kids suffer from some sort of chronic illness. 1 in 6 has a neurodevelopmental challenge. 1 in 4 in the United States requires special needs or some sort of special education. And I've been asking this question, like, do we think like that's gotten better over the last 18 months? Or do we think that a more massive tsunami is coming? And because I just sit back and recognize that this tsunami that we were already taking care of, what drives me absolutely up the wall is that it is safer, quote, right, air quotes, more responsible. It is more acceptable today that children are being allowed to believe, they're being indoctrinated to believe that their healthy bodies can harm or kill someone else. So to me, it was already untenable. And I speak next week at our county supervisors. And because I love the hell out of them, because I love them with my wholest being, that I will hold them to account. And I will call out those inconsistencies, those incongruencies, because, and I'll end with this, because I love that you said you get to your place of centeredness, Aaron. I love that you said that. Because it's hard sometimes. Every time. I ask myself, sometimes the opposite, right? Sometimes we're like, where is God? It's like, well, I ask, where is God not? If God is omnipotent, if God is omniscient, if God is this ubiquitous force, God is in this moment. And if God is in this moment, then you better believe what is happening in this moment is God's calling us to step into this greater wholeness of force, of love, of integrity, of transparency, of accountability. And I think it's revealing these values that we've taken for granted. I don't believe freedom to be a value that we choose one way versus the other. I don't believe freedom to be a value for humans, especially, whether it's neuroplastically and understanding how we are the most conscious species, if we choose to see it and be it. But I would say that that's what God is calling us to do, from a freedom, these whole love, the wholeness of freedom, the wholeness of love. It's calling us to step into that level of conviction that I will say that, and this hasn't failed me yet, and I know it won't because I believe it to be a universal principle now, that conviction for the world that you believe in at your highest source and highest sense of who you are On the far side of that is the life of your dreams. I don't think that will fail me. And it won't, that is literally my mantra today. And for me, it's exemplification every day, knowing that this room, surrounded by toys and books, every morning, I look my kid in the eye and I say, did I fight for your world? How will I do that today? People call that brave. People call that courageous. I don't. I think that's what humanity is. I think that's what being a conscious human / a conscious male in this world is fighting for that world. And if that means that I need to go to blows, I mean, I love the heck out of the future of this possibility, the possible world, enough to know that I'd have to, right? If it's my kid's life or death, I'd have to, right?
Thank you for that, Stan. I love what you said about because you love the city council that you're speaking of, because you love the city council members, that you are holding them to account, right? And that's the understanding that if we are all fundamentally consciousness or love, is that love would never impose upon love. Consciousness would never impose or infringe upon consciousness. And it's that setting that reminder, it's really getting them back to understanding who and what they truly are. That is the whole point behind this. So thank you so much for that. Gil, I would love to hear from you as well on that. How do we effectively raise our children, embodying the balance of sacred masculinity and sacred femininity, to raise them to be the leaders of humanity from here forward?
That is a crucial point, and I wanted to thank you for bringing it up. I want to thank also each and every one here that spoke and continue to speak their hearts, their souls, and their minds. It's very beautiful to me. I'm moved to my core, and it's very inspiring, and I am very honored to be a part of this. To answer your question, Alec, as a father, which is only an aspect of what I am, but as a father, I've began to give my son what I wanted to give to him and to share with him before, long before he came to be, and he came into our genetics for years and years working on my genetics and on my genome, purposefully through my spiritual path, through my practice and work and study and dedication to the greater truth, to the transformation, to the liberation. By preparing a genetics for him that would already give him a whole new jump start to begin with. And I've already communicated with him years before he came, and years before we became pregnant with him. And I have opened that space and said, whenever you see that this is appropriate for you, jump in. And so he did. But it took years and years and years. So to bring things into a point, to pin down, first and foremost, I relate to him from my heart and my soul. I relate to him as a soul and a heart first. He's first of all and foremost my brother, and he knows that, and that's how I always approach him, first and foremost. Then he's my friend, and then he's also my son, in which is a privilege. And I remember a moment we had, he was very little, maybe 3, and I was dealing with a trauma that I carried in my genetics that got triggered only when I had a son myself, when I became a father. It was dormant up to that point. I was not even aware. It was unconscious. And it started to unravel when he came to be and when he manifested. And I was struggling with that, and it was a long struggle. And into his birth and into him growing up and us growing up together. And that was always the attitude. I was never raising my son. I was growing with him and with my beloved wife. This is how we operate as a family unit. We grow together. We're equals in every sense. And so at that point, we had a little game we played. And he pushed me because I pushed his buttons. He was angry at me. And so I pushed him back, lightly, of course. Then he pushed me stronger. So I pushed him a little stronger. And then he fell on his butt. And when he fell on his butt, he looked at me. And when he looked at me, I saw the fear in his eyes. And all I could do, I broke down and cried. I began crying. I cried from a place of such deep trauma, of generations upon generations, of passing on this program from parents to children, fathers and mothers to children, daughters and sons. And I recognized it in this look, in this one look in the eyes. And I wept in front of him, and he was looking at me with big eyes like that. He was maybe 3 or 4. And I cried for quite a few minutes. And then I picked him up and I said, listen to me, my beloved. If I ever, from this moment on, this is a covenant that I want to make with you. This is an honorable agreement I'm making with you right now, and I want to establish it and burn it into our hearts and minds and consciousness. If I ever invoke fear in you, if I ever express myself to you in a controlling way, to try to invoke fear in you, for you to do something I want you to do, or to try to control you in any way through fear, don't believe me. It's fake, it's false. And I want you to call me on it. I want you to stand in front of me if I do that, and I might, because I'm in the making. I'm also human. So I'm in the making, and I have a lot of work to do. And if I ever impose that fear on you, to try to control you in any way, stand in front of me and call me on it, and I will be there. I will remember, because it's an agreement we're making right now. And he listened and he took it in, and it was very clear. And that's about that. Alec, since then we are just growing together. I never raised my child to be a leader. I only allow him to be exactly what he is. And only through living example of me going through my process and being completely honest and open and transparent with him on all levels. And he saw me weeping and crying and breaking down quite a few times. That's what built the trust between us. That's what broke through the old patterns of control, manipulation, and education that comes from an imposing authority, from a hierarchical attitude that is long becoming obsolete and toxic. So I thank you for that question. And I hope what I'm saying here helps to shed some more light into how we redefine that.
I love that. I love that, Gil. Thank you so much. It's that we're all sort of in this upward spiral together, right? Looking at ourselves as guides for our children rather than someone who is an authority figure over them in many ways. That's very beautiful. So thank you for that. Is there any other burning shares, any wisdom that is sort of sitting in the back of anyone's consciousness right now that they'd like to share before we move on to declarations?
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, I'll just share a quick one. You know, I got my daughter with me now, and I spent a lot of time studying with the indigenous. And one of the things that they just talked about was the respect for the elders, you know, and when they would do teachings, they would have elders, you know, grandparents and kids and, you know, the whole lot. And I don't think our culture really does that. And so in training with them, it was always like that and it was normal. And I think we need to bring that back. And we're talking about, you know, masculinity and this, you know, the whole idea of toxic masculinity, and it really simplifies it, you know, when you're a dad. You know, you protect your kid. You have, you know, mothers protect their kids too. But it's just simple. So we need to stand up for what's right to build a better future for our kids, right? Because, you know, my daughter's 2, and it's actually her birthday today, which is awesome. And she's been super helpful navigating these times. And so, you know, when you're young and you're, you know, a teenager, you might have some toxic masculinity going when you're trying to find and figure yourself out. But when you become a father, you know, you want what's best for your kids. And if we think, you know, 7-generation thinking and all that, she's about to break everything. It just becomes beautiful. So I know that these are heavy times, but when we look at the beauty and the innocence of kids, we have to do everything that we can to make sure that they have a beautiful future in front of them.
Well said. On Thursday's live stream, in preparation for this call, I think, Jason, you said about the generation mixing, and our kids today are not, like, their age groups are staying together, and immediately it was like a light bulb, like how that is keeping us as men, the masculine, in a place of sustained adolescence. Right, more than the previous thought in my mind was, well, there's no rites of passage, there's no ritual, but that's the core thing, isn't it? Before we get into declarations, I know, Jason, you already spoke so powerfully at the start of the call. You just want to reflect on that, because I think Matt's point is very, very powerful.
Absolutely. So that day when we were on that podcast, just about an hour before, I was at lunch with Larry Palevsky, Dr. Palevsky, and we were talking about this whole activation that we're doing now today. And he was just giving his thoughts on everything. And we were talking about this topic because it's really, really powerful. It's really important. And he actually brought up what he calls like cross-pollination between different age groups, because, you know, to a large extent, we've lost that today, or go back in the past, you'd have the 10-year-old with the 40-year-old with the 80-year-old. And today things are so segmented and so sort of reduced and divided that the 10-year-olds are with the 10-year-olds and the 20 with the 20 and the 40 with the 40 and the 80 with the 80. And there's no more of that, not so much at least, of that cross-pollination between wisdom, lessons, and experiences that can be shared from the 80-year-old to the 10-year-old. And therefore, the 10-year-old grows up not really having so much guidance because they haven't seen any form of template. So they can still get to the point that the 80-year-old can get to, but it might take them longer, as opposed to if we have that cross-pollination with it between age groups to learn just between all of us. And one sort of correlation or analogy I would give with that is the difference between holism and reductionism. A few hundred years ago, the scientist would be the doctor who also knew a little bit of astronomy and a little bit of astrology and a little bit of math and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And a few hundred years ago, we were able to bridge the supposed gap between all these different disciplines and understand that everything's really one. And today, everybody's so specialized. Like, there's a doctor that only knows the shoulder, and there's a doctor that only knows this part of the body. And that's great, but we've become so specialized and reductionistic that we forgot the big picture. We forgot the connections between absolutely everything. So the pharmaceutical industry is based on that very idea. It's reductionism. So we give you the pill for the liver, but we destroy the kidney. We give you the pill for the acne, but we destroy the liver, and this lesson of cross-pollination, connecting the dots, is relevant in every topic in life, in my opinion. Whereas, whether we're talking about cross-pollination between ages or understanding a little bit about many different topics to connect the dots. And I do believe that as we continue moving forward into this, people call it like a new earth. I really call it the original place that we came from. People call it alternative medicine alternative. It's really the original medicine that we came from. The further we go down this line, the more I believe we're just going to understand that everything is connected, and we're going to come to this place of more holism instead of reductionism. And to Larry's point, to Dr. Pilevsky's point, it just shed another light on something that's really important to speak about in these times.
Jason, thank you for that. Forgive my non-muting there. I wanted just to, as we go into declarations, this piece now about intention. It's so powerful, isn't it? Doesn't it start from there? And if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just, if I can remind myself in that place of feeling overwhelmed, it's just, the source of my being, consciousness, creator, infinite creator, Christ, show me what I need to do, guide me, inspire me. And then letting that go and then being willing to receive. It could be that simple. And then something comes up, like 2 weeks ago, the idea to have you 11 brothers on this call. I'm so grateful that this came together. That came up and my fear immediately came up, And so that intention, I really want to move through this fear. I really want to feel my source guide me through, my soul guide me through this. And so, it's beautiful how this came together. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being on this call. Very, very powerful. So with that, let's move into the declarations piece. I wish that we could keep going and just be on hours and hours, but we'll keep the container, let's see, under 2 hours. As you're watching this, I would just invite you to take a few breaths and prepare yourself to receive. These are declarations that really each of the 12 men on this call has spent time with over this past week and gotten really intentional with, from a place of love and oneness and great care. So whether that's eyes open or eyes closed, however you receive. And then after each share, man, let's give 5 seconds or so, just to allow that to resonate. So just allow these words to resonate and wash over you. And remember that you are sovereign in your own ability to choose, whether to receive something or not. So you have that power as one. So with that, I'd like to ask Xavier, if you could start us off, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh, and thank you to anyone that just came before me. Honestly, my heart's so full, and as we lean into the declarations, to anyone listening, I'm inviting you to set the intent to receive only what serves your highest good in this moment. I'm inviting you to breathe into your heart. And if you choose to have maybe one hand on your heart, and I will go ahead. With transcendental presence and the heart fully open, upholding natural and universal laws, with a shield of compassion in one hand and the sword of love in the other, transmuting fear-based timelines rooted in his own light, harnessing the power of free choice with reverence for the highest good, a reclamation of divine warriorship. The divine masculine is rising within all. Let's attune to that frequency. And so it is.
At the deepest core of it all, the activation of both the divine masculine and the divine feminine within are one and the same, being that they both emerge from the same singular point, balance.
As Aaron was alluding to before, my declaration was to myself and remains to myself to, like Jesus, be in the world, but never of it. Meaning, to know myself as infinite and eternal consciousness, not an object of the world. And then from that perspective, to jump in the world with pure freedom. Only the infinite and eternal can be free. That includes speaking my mind, protecting children, women, and those being abused. Again, in the world, fully, completely, with all my heart, but never as a limited and lacking object.
I'm going to use this opportunity to remind everyone listening that you are love experiencing. You are here to be your own unique, authentic expression of that. Let all of the trauma, stories, and conditioned beliefs impressed upon you fall away. Let the fear of what others may think or say fall away. Be you. Stand as love here, now, and stand for the right of others to be their own authentic representation of the same. Your voice is powerful. Your voice is worthy. Your authentic voice creates space for others to use their own. Stand now as love.
The infinity of divinity is our essence. We are all made from a brilliance and beauty far more profound than we could ever consciously imagine. One of 100 million sperm, one of 2 million eggs. We all transform from 2 half cells to 26 billion cells through the most sacred 9 months nature has ever created. We are each a manifestation of the most magnificent form of unconditional love and compassion in the knowable universe. May we breathe in this essence. May we own this essence. May we honor the infinite order of who we are and stand in our power.
Josh, you're muted.
I love how I don't have to be perfect. Let our nature and our source come together in us and open new pathways of giving and receiving, inner and outer, higher and lower. And may this place of fullness truly inform and lead our action in our lives and in our world.
May we find peace, kindness, love, and compassion. May we increase our faith and courage and give our fears to the Creator. May we live with purpose and know that we are protected and perfect. May we see Spirit. May we hear Spirit. May our words be of Spirit, and may we live in Spirit. May we be quick to forgive ourselves and others. May we see through all deception. May we be guided and know the truth, share the truth, and live in the truth. May we protect and help those who are in need. May we let go of superficial desires and set our gaze and intent on serving creation and living in harmony with all that is.
We've come here together today to join our hearts and minds in one intention, to declare together that this will be a planet of unity and of love. And so we bring that light to the four corners of the earth and say that where there is suffering, we will bring healing. Where there is division, we will bring unity. Where there is corruption, we will bring righteousness. Where there is lies, we will bring truth. And where there is separation, we will bring oneness. This is our declaration, and so it is.
There's only one person on the planet that you can save, and it's yourself. There's only one world that you can change, and it's your world. It's what's in between and what's going on and what is alive within your 2 ears. That we have awakened to realize that the projector screen of the movie does not determine our state of being, does not determine whether or not we feel empowered. And instead of trying to change the screen of our reality, we go to the source, to the projector, to the core of our minds, to become clear in here so the world can become clear out there. And so we are grateful for the opportunity to find clarity through contrast, through pain, through everything we're seeing in the world. And we say yes to awakening and realizing what human nature actually is, what humanity actually is, maybe for the first time.
May each conscious breath activate the intelligence of the cosmos within us that we have forgotten. We came to this planet to simply remember who we are and activate these 12 DNA strands that lie dormant inside of us, bringing forward the complete and whole union of the divine masculine and feminine within. And so it is.
Let your unique divine spark be ignited, as it is through our multiplicity that source experiences itself. Allow all experiences to bring you back to the furnace that is your heart. Anchor into your presence. Anchor into your stillness. Anchor into your truth. And from that space, gift the world the totality of who you are. I stand together with you. Set yourselves free.
Before I speak my invocation, would like to perhaps say a word or two that will decode it somewhat, for it is deeply encoded. We as humans here have been playing the away game for nearly 5 million years, since the first experiments with these physical, three-dimensional biological vehicles, time-space suits that we're wearing. And now it is a new chapter, and it's time to play home game. And this is what comes now. Everything that we do here as we move into the new era is a preparation to become ready for what's coming. And what is coming is home game. And as we fuse these two games together, as we go through this process, naturally, organically, tenderly, yet uncompromisingly, home game will expand, supersede, and countermand the away game. And we will all live in our human on earth together forever in love. Here now is only one of us. There is no other. Beloved one, all only. I am, we are, it is. Welcome home.
Wow. Thank you, men. On behalf of the 12 men on this call, I deeply thank you for being part of this, for receiving, for participating, and for giving, and for forgiving ourselves, for forgiving the others which don't know what they're doing. They're not in that level of consciousness. Thank you for being with us. I invite you to please share this replay, this video, widely if this inspired you, if you value this. And I invite you to allow this to continue to resonate and to bless you. Rewatch it if you like. And also connect with each man on this call via below the embed. There's ways that the best links that you can connect with each man are there. Do so. Each man here is committed to help mankind, to help men and women go forward. Please get on their email addresses, Instagram, Telegram. It's very important that we're coming together at this time. Alec, I would like to, before we close, just to connect with you and to ask you for any words that you have right now.
No, I think that the men that are on this call are just unbelievable representations of, and each of them are unique, right? Each unique representations of just an outpouring of love and consciousness that resides within. And I'm honored to be amongst all of you and to call each of you friend. This was an amazing experience. Felt it in the heart, and I know that growing up, I always said the best movies were the ones where you felt all of the emotions possible. You felt tremendous happiness, grief, cried a little bit, and this movie, this experience we just had, I felt every single emotion. I laughed a little bit at Josh not unmuting. I cried a lot when Andrew spoke and other people spoke. This was an amazing experience, and I hope the people watching also had an amazing experience as well. So thank you, men, for being on this call.
Thank you, brother. We feel a pull to continue this. We don't know in what form that will take, but obviously coming together is a big part of this. So we invite you to also lower down on the page at reunion.world. There's an opportunity for you to subscribe your email. If you haven't done so yet, if you've opted in for this and you gave your email already, we have that. You're in. That's great. If you haven't done so, or if you're watching the replay, go to reunion.world, scroll down and subscribe to the updates so that we can keep in touch and we can all go forward together. And yeah, thank you, men. Thank you for being on this call, for all the work that you're doing, for your presence and love and dedication, for all the time that you put into preparing this call on group chat, and for your ongoing and future blessings and expansions, how we are all expanding together and in and through and from a place of love. Thank you. Thank you for watching.
Thank you to you as well, brother, for organizing this and for bringing this into being. Thank you for all your work on this. Sincerely.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
My pleasure. Thank you. All right. Peace, everyone.